Okay, that side's dry. I really should turn that speaker off, shouldn't I? Because it's just been really annoying. Yeah, so we're now, just got to make sure you lift this off. You don't want it to stick to your working surface, but you do want to get a coat of glue on it. So you have to just lift it off. This is not too difficult with this little tiny bit I'm doing, but when you're wrapping a spear, it becomes a lot more tricky. Okay, and then we need to just dry that. I was going to pause again because you don't want to see glue dry. Okay, so I think that's about ready. What we are going to do, we are going to wrap this now round the core, which will give us our handle. So you need to make sure that this is very sticky. Actually, I don't think that side's quite dry enough. Give this a wave about a bit. It's just wasn't quite dry enough. It's really important that your glue is fairly dry. It just won't stick if it's wet. One of the weird anomalies about contact adhesive. It has to be almost dry before it'll stick. Right. I think hopefully that is enough. So again, like I said before, this is actually quite tricky. However, probably the best method of wrapping a handle that I've come up with. If you've got a better way of doing it, please let me know. I mean, I've done it with the sandwich type, like with the blade, with the sandwich sort of method before now. And that's okay. I just find that this, you can actually wrap this until you get the thickness that you want for your handle. Which is about there, I think. I think I was a million miles off, actually. You need to give it a really good squish down. So as I've glued it, it's come away slightly from the edge there. It's not a biggie. If I was making this for somebody else, I might redo that, but it's for me, so I'm not that worried about it. There you go. Right, let's trim this up. So be careful when you're trimming the ends, because you don't want to go cutting into your Kevlar or anything like that. There we go. I've actually cut into the Kevlar a little bit. It was only just on a tip. and then you just need to, next blade, as you can see how quickly you run out of these blades. You just need to sort of chamfer the edge where the join is, and we'll give that a sand. Sand down. Okay, let's give that a rough sand. So this bit is actually going to be underneath your leather hand wrap, so you don't need to worry too much about it. Yeah, I'm fairly happy with that so far. Yeah, feels pretty good. Right, so what am I going to do with this end? So what I tend to do is I then wrap this, I tend to wrap then the actual pommel bit again to build up the size of the pommel, then I can do whatever I want on the end then. So I've got another bit of scrap foam here. I just need to decide how much of a handle I want and how big I want the pommel. So what do you reckon, 2 inches? 2 inches? That probably works. Shall we go with that? 2 inches. So it's going to be reasonably big pommel. Got it there. I might just hold that in and cut it. Conveniently, I think that's actually the same width. Great. And we'll wrap that. So let's glue this up. Glue that up. Okay, about 2 inches. Glue. That. And then oof. Just clean off a bit. Boom, boom, boom. And again, boring bit. I'll wait for it to dry. Glue's a bit thick on that. Let's just spread that out a bit. You don't want the glue to be too thick. It won't glue properly if you put too much on. Yeah. go, glue the other side. Same technique as we did before, really. This foam's a little bit thicker, just so that it gives us the depth we need on this pommel. It needs to have plenty of foam on it. Don't stick to the counter. Right, so we're gonna start on there. It's very sticky. I'm just gonna cut like that. And pop a little bit of glue on that. Sweet. I don't know whether you would call this a speed build or not, I don't know, but we're doing this in one day. So, well, hopefully we'll do this in one day. Right, so once that's all firmly pressed in, I think that's probably going to be alright. We'll sand this down later. And then we're going to just, again, just tidy up that end before we cap it. I'll have to do a wide shot on this afterwards, just so you can see what the whole thing looks like, because it's really hard to see what the whole thing looks like with this camera in the position I've got it. Right, so we now want to just put a cap on the end there. So fortunately, perfect. So I used to spend hours getting the when I used to cap an end, getting the circle drawn and making it perfect, and then I realised later, just do a square and then trim it. It works just as well, pretty much. Old hairdryer again. Once they're dry enough, just line them up, press that down. There we go. And then, just trim it around the edge. I'm rushing a bit now, that glue's not quite set. I have to go back and trim that up again in a minute. There we go, some sort of pommel going on there. Right, I'll come back to that after. So I've just got to decide what I want to do along the edge of this this blade. I'd like to do something where it looks like it's just been bolted on to make it heavier, as if someone wasn't happy with the original blade and then thought, no, I need this thing to be really heavy so that I can chop into people's skulls, so I'll just add another couple of bits of metal and rivet it on down the side. Plenty of offcuts here. Probably that. So if I cut a couple of strips, jaggedy looking strips, and put it down the centre of the blade, and then make some sort of like rivety things, or even do like 2 or 3 short ones and make it look like they've just been hammered on. What do you reckon? Yeah, probably like that. I think we'll do that. So I think I'm just going to wing it and cut a couple of strips and see what happens. And I'll just glue it up, glue it on. Let's see how it goes, I think. Like I said before, this is not, I've not planned this in any way, shape or form. I've just decided to do it this morning. And here we are, doing it. Right. I think we're sort of probably approaching where, one more. We're probably just approaching where we're going to be stopping soon. Maybe get this bit. Oops, don't move. Get this bit cut and on, and probably leave it there then. I don't know, we'll see. See how we feel. See how we feel. It's been a very, very, very long video. Right, okay, so I think what I want to do is make them like they've sort of been just jaggedly put on. Let me just go off another thing on it. So this is 10mm round foam, squishy. It just comes, I think it's from Tiger Supplies. I think it basically just comes in meter lengths, and you can use it as piping for whatever. It's used a lot in cosplay. But what I've been using it for is just cutting off little bits to make round sort of rivet or screw heads, which I think is what we're going to do. So I am just going to cut chunks of this off, really roughly sort of cut them like that and make them, I don't want them square wherever they are. These are just been bits of metal that some random orc has decided he's going to add to his blade. Because he thinks it makes it look good, or it makes it stronger in some sort of way. It probably absolutely wouldn't in reality make any difference. In fact, it would probably make the blade weaker if you go drilling holes in a blade and then, but it probably would make the blade weaker. But hey, this is a fantasy setting, so I'm just going to glue this bad boy up all the way along. And then we're going to add these bits of foam as we see fit along the edge of the blade. I'm going to cut a couple and glue a couple while that glue's drying. I'm going to have them different lengths, and I'm really trying to make them gnarly bits of rusted iron. Oh, did I say I was going to do it rusty? I'm going to do it. I I've just decided it's going to be rusty. Okay, there we go. It's going to be a rusty old bit of metal. I want them to be rough and random. I hope you can see that. I keep forgetting about putting the camera in, putting what I'm doing in the shot of the camera. I apologise if half of this stuff's happening off screen, which to be honest with you it could be. And then I'll have to edit those bits out because you just don't want to see me yabbering on and not what I'm bloody doing. It's everywhere. Probably do a longer bit, I think. So whoever's owned this blade, the big chunks of this have been ripped out as they've been fighting. And maybe they've decided to add bits back in. I don't know. Alright, let's blast that with a hairdryer a bit. Oh, he's making it up as he goes along. Yeah, I am. There we go. He's making it up. I am totally making it up. I want these just to be literally bolted on. Now, would you look at that? It sort of works. All right, let's chop some of these up. I think this will add to the texture as well. When you start like dry brushing it and rusting it up, it's stuff for the paint to catch on. That'll sort of become apparent when we do the painting, I guess, hopefully. What is that? Don't know. I'll put a few dobs of this glue on that. So with this, oops. Honestly, it doesn't matter with this because it's like meant to be rough. Got a bit of glue where I shouldn't have got it. Doesn't matter. Not with this anyway. If I was doing a fine Dornish blade, then it would be a disaster. But I ain't doing that. Right. So normally we glue both sides of these things, but because they're so small, I'm just going to dab. Can you see that? Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah. I'm just going to dab that on, and then push it back down, and then lift it. Basically, lift it. There's enough glue there for both sides. Just lift it off. Put that down. Spread the glue a bit. Put that down. hopefully you can sort of see what I'm going for. Maybe you can. Hope you can. Da, da, da. Need a few more. Okay, that's enough. I think I was going to put one in the middle. Yeah, that's just enough. So, on there, one in the middle, and then one at the end. I'm just going to lift these back up a bit, spread the glue, and I'll whack all this with a hairdryer in a minute. And then we'll do the other side. Right, let's whack that with a hairdryer. I guess the reason I'm doing this is because, as I've already mentioned, my friends Ian and Dave, or the larp new, they've been making a load of awesome armour and awesome kit for monstering. And I'm afraid armour's probably not my strong point. So I'm just going to make some awesome weapons for my monstering. I might have a go at that Lamlar, is it? Lamlar armour that they're making at some point. Or if I'm really lucky, I might persuade Ian to make me some. Maybe do a skill swap, make him some weapons and he can make me some armour. I think I'll be getting the better deal, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, so I'm actually going to carve, like, I don't know, I could put a line in each one of these to make it look like a screw. Or I could just chamfer the edges to make it look more like a rivet. I'm not quite sure which I'm going to do. Anyway, let's do the other side. Let's cut these bits first. So, short one there. Actually, no. Let's glue this up, because then while I'm cutting, this glue's drying. See, think ahead. Right, cut a few more. See, this blade is already dulled. Also, this is. What do you want? Yes, please. I have a coffee. Sorry, that's my son Dan supplying me with coffee. So, what was I going to say now? It's about the Twitch stream the other night, wasn't it? I've forgotten what. He's disturbed me, and I've forgotten what it was I was going to talk about. Oh yeah, I mentioned in the Twitch stream the other night that I'm going to chuck some 3mm foam in my car, and they were a bit confused. But basically, what the guys were doing is they were making this I'm not even going to say it. I can't say it. This armour they were making, and basically they were using sticky back foam to attach the thin sort of furniture leather on, which is great. However, basically all it is 3mm foam with contact adhesive on it. So if I chuck some 3mm foam in my car when I go to Empire next, just offcuts, basically this stuff. All I've got to do is add a little bit of glue. I mean, they could buy a small pot of glue for like literally 2 or 3 pounds. And then, I mean, I don't know how much that stuff costs per sheet, but with the offcuts wouldn't cost them anything. It would literally mean that they would be making the armour even cheaper then. I know that makes no relevance to anybody watching this apart from 2 very specific people, but to be quite honest with you, if more than 2 people watch this video, I'll be happy. Right, might need one more. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah, how about that? Hopefully that should do it. Right, let's get these glued up. So, I guess the other thing is the time it takes you to make a weapon. I mean, I don't know how long I've been at this now. I mean, I've paused a few times because of wives and children and my dog and cups of tea and something to eat. But actual work time, you can knock something like this out in, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours. An afternoon, a Sunday afternoon, although it's not Sunday today. It's a Thursday because I work in retail and we have to have our days off on weird days. Hello, Dan.
Got some little donuts as well.
Oh, sweet. Thank you very much.
I put my hands in the video.
Do not put your hands in the video. Get them out. Gordon, kids, eh? What was I saying? Yeah. Yeah. Retail. Oh yeah, that was it. Retail. Thursday. It's Thursday today. I have to have my days off on stupid days. I don't get days off at the weekend like normal people do. And of course, because I'm a retail manager, unfortunately, I wasn't locked down like, well, fortunately, depends on your view of it, I guess. I wasn't locked down like everybody else. I have been to work every single day, which is nice, or not, as the case may be, depending on your point of view, I guess. Right, let's glue these down. Let's just whack them with a hairdryer a bit. Let's have that one there. And then we'll go with small sort of there. Definitely don't want these straight. I think I'll put that one there. Don't want these straight. We want them to look like they've been bolted on as an afterthought. Let's cut. So I want 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, plus 1 in the middle, 11. Okay. I'm always worried that you're looking at the top of my head. I suppose when I watch these videos back, I will see if you are indeed looking at the top of my head, which could be the case, and will be rather embarrassing. But hey ho. Bum, bum, bum. Now you've got them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, there's a spare one. There you go, 12. So again, same thing again. I'm going to wodge a little bit of glue on the end of each one of these. And then you'll see me dab these down and then lift them off. And the reason I lift them off is because you need to get contact adhesive on both sides of the foam for it to stick properly. If I was just to plop them down, it would take forever for them to stick, to be honest with you. By lifting them up, basically what I'm doing is I'm coating both sides of the rivet, or whatever you want to call it, and then I'll just place them down first, so I get one into position. Yeah, my head in the way again. I can hear you all now screaming, move your in head, you bald person. So I'm just going to lift these off and then just glue them down again. Just make sure they get full coverage of the glue. Seems a bit weird, but that's what I'm doing. You can feel it when you stick them back down again, that they just stick that much better. Right, I think that's pretty good. Right, I'm going to fire up the old soldering iron now, because I need to just detail these screws. Fortunately, I am blessed with quite a big shed, but like I said before, really most of this build you could do on a kitchen table. I'm using donut now, by the way, very nice. You just have to make sure you've got lots of I would cover your table in a thick mat of some sort, some newspaper, and then put a cutting mat down, because you're obviously cutting into stuff all the time. I've got a couple of really shonky cutting mats, and I'll show you my cutting mat. I don't tend to use them very often now because they're so bad. I used to tend to use the table because it is in my shed, it's not like a dining table or anything, and then I just rub it down afterwards. I just get all the glue off and all that stuff. So there we are. What are we up to? 35 minutes on this section. So I'm going to try and cut it down so the whole of this bit is in about an hour. And just cut out some of the really boring bits. But I wanted to do the whole build really from start to finish, so you can sort of see what I'm doing. But bits where I'm eating donuts and drinking my coffee might not make the final cut. A lot of this building stuff is waiting for things to either heat up, cool down, get dry, or stay wet. And then occasionally you put a few things together in between, which is like, that's the delay on everything. It's not so much that you take forever making stuff, although sometimes you do. I mean, I've been on that mace now for like 3 weeks, although I've actually probably only done 2 days worth of building. It's just because I'm working all the time. And, I have a family and stuff. I can't just spend all my time making larp weapons, however much I'd like to. Life gets in the way of larp. I don't know whether I've coined that, but I'm taking it. That's mine now. Life gets in the way of larp, which is a goddamn shame. Right, so I'm just going to get a bit of scrap foam just to test the heat of my soldering iron. Get in there. It needs to just be hot before I start using it. So this is just a standard Wilkinson's soldering iron. It has probably never seen a bit of solder in its life. I use this for carving details into foam. I've got a couple actually. I've got another one elsewhere, and I've also got a foam cutting probe. No idea where that's gone. Oh, there it is. So I've got one of these as well. It's a similar sort of thing, except the whole of this thing gets really hot, and you can cut foam with it. It's okay for very, very low density sort of styrofoam and that sort of stuff. Okay, so that is what the whole sword looks like. So yeah, it's balanced pretty well. Not too bad. It's not too bulky. It's actually really light. I'm intending this is going to be for my offhand, I think. So it's going to be more for parrying than anything. Probably have something else in that hand. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I'm quite pleased how it's turned out actually. Considering it was like a one-day sort of build. I think I'm going to do some more work on this at some point. I might not film that. It might be that the next video I do just is the painting and all that stuff. This one. Just so you're aware, if you've got a commission with me, because I've got a couple, I haven't forgotten, I am doing them, I'm sort of doing them all at the same time. Just makes more sense to build lots of things together and then latex them all together and then paint them all together. It just is an economy of scale sort of thing. So there you go. Hope you've liked this build so far. Come back for part 2 when I will latex and paint this up. And yeah, thank you very much for watching as always. Please subscribe. What else do you have to do? Hit the bell. Like, thumbs up, smiley face, that one with a huggy heart, I don't know, whatever you like. Anyway, cheers, thanks very much for watching, bye.